Yasodhanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yasodhanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yasodhanandana Rajajanaranjana Yasodhanandana Rajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Pramsa Parivaraj Kacharya Strang Shishimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Pramsa Parivaraj Kacharya Strang Shishimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Go Premanandi All glories to the Sama devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the Sama devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the Sama devotees. Glory Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Vishnu Braya Krishna Prasamtare Shrimati Bhagavad Vedanta Synonyms Sarvadevi Gauravan Sharim Yanapasachari Satarani. So thank you for coming, Maharaj. So we're reading the continuing letter of Rukmini. She wrote this letter to Lord Krishna and through the Brahman, and she's presented different points to try to get Lord Krishna to pay attention and to see her sincerity and to come ultimately to rescue her. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nasta Praeshu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavatu Tamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vajra Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the 10th canto, chapter 52nd and text 42. Antaḥ-purāntara-carīm anihatya bandhūn tvām udvahe katham pravadāmy upāyam pūrve-dyur asti mahatī kula-deva-yātrā yasyāṁ bahir nava-vadhūr girijām upeyāt antaḥ-purāntara-carīm anihatya bandhūn tvām udvahe katham pravadāmy upāyam pūrve-dyur asti mahatī kula-deva-yātrā yasyāṁ bahir nava-vadhūr girijām upeyāt antaḥ-purāntara-carīm anihatya bandhūn tvām udvahe katham pravadāmy upāyam pūrve-dyur asti mahatī kula-deva-yātrā yasyāṁ bahir nava-vadhūr girijām upeyāt. Ladies? Antaḥ-pura, the women's quarters of the palace. Antara, within. Carīm, moving. Anihatya, without killing. Bandhūn, your relatives. Tvām, you. Udvahe, I shall carry away. Katham, how. Iti, saying such words. Pravadāmy, I shall explain. Upāyam, a means. Pūrve-dyuḥ, on the day before. Asti, there is. Mahatī, large. Kulam, of the royal family. Deva, for the presiding deity. Yātrā, a ceremonial procession. Yasyāṁ, in which. Bahir, outside. Nava, new. Vadhūḥ, the bride. Girijām, goddess Girija. Ambika, upeyāt, approaches. Translation and purport. Since I will be staying within the inner chambers of the palace, you may wonder, how can I carry you away without killing some of your relatives? But I shall tell you a way. On the day before the marriage, there's a grand procession to honor the royal family's deity. And in this procession, the new bride goes outside the city to visit goddess Girija. Purport. Clever Rukmini anticipated a possible objection on the part of Sri Krishna. He certainly would not object to subduing rascals like Shishupal and Jarasandha, but he might be reluctant to injure or kill Rukmini's relatives, some of whom might block his way to the palace's inner sanctum, where the women were protected. The procession to or from the temple of Girija, Durga, would provide a perfect opportunity for Krishna to kidnap Rukmini without harming her relatives. So here we see again, Rukmini is trying to cover all the angles and foreseeing some of the arguments that Lord Krishna may, in his own state of consciousness, think about. And here she's basically considering that maybe Krishna might think that it's too much trouble. You know, this is going to be a big fight. Obviously, Rukmini will not want me to take his sister, Rukmini, away. And already so many have assembled, Shishupal, Jarasandha, many of them have assembled for this marriage, so we can understand that she's thinking that maybe some of my own soldiers and army will be harmed. There'll be a big fight, many people be killed, and it's not worth it, so I'm not going to come. So she's thinking in that way and saying, well, if you're thinking that way, there is a solution to even this problem. So of course in previous verses she's already expressed how she's done everything on her side. She's worshipped the demigods, she's worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which can be surprising because she's addressing Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worshipping demigods, kamasta-staritya jnana prapadyate devata. Krishna in the Gita says that only fools worship demigods. So you can wonder, why is she worshipping the demigods, right? Of course, in that case, she's worshipping Yogamaya, she's not worshipping Mahamaya. And we see even the gopis, they worship Katyayani. Sometimes Radharani goes and worships Surya. So there is that opportunity toward that thing taking place. And the Supreme Personality of God, of course, here Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he doesn't really manifest himself in that way, of course, in Vrindavan, but even in Dwarka, although there's Aishwarya Bhav in Dwarka and Mathura, which is not prominent or is not here in Vrindavan, still. So when she says the Supreme Personality of Godhead, she's referring more to Narayan, those in Vaikuntha who worship Narayan. So she's established herself to be worthy of Krishna's hand in marriage, and she here is describing a possibility to come and get her and make her bride. Of course, Rukmini, her brother, he already knew. This was already known. Bhishmaka, her father, Rukmini had already expressed that she wanted Krishna as her husband. Her 4 other brothers were aware of that. Rukmini, her 5th brother, was also aware of that. But Rukmini was very much close to Shishupal, who Shishupal hated Krishna. And of course, this goes way back to Kamsa. Kamsa hated Krishna even before Krishna was even born. We know how when Kamsa was driving his sister's chariot after her marriage with Vasudeva, it's a big occasion, big celebration, and he hears a voice that, Kamsa, you're such a fool that you don't realize that the 8th child of your sister will be the cause of your death. So right there in front of everyone, he grabs his sword and he's going to kill his own sister. And Vasudeva, of course, quite disturbed to see this, pacifies Kamsa and tells him, no, wait a minute. You're not being threatened by your sister. This is our child, the 8th child. She may not even have any children, and maybe 1 or 2, but 8, we don't know. So, but I promise that any child that we do have, I'll bring that child to you and you can decide what to do. So from that very moment, Kamsa was feeling threatened. And he hated Krishna from that very moment, knowing that Krishna. Later on, of course, that voice was Narada Muni. Later on, Narada Muni does come and visit Kamsa and describes to Kamsa, because at one point Kamsa gets a little, after seeing the first child, he said, nah, that child's not a threat. It's supposed to be the 8th child. You can go back with that child. So Narada Muni comes and tells him, actually, you shouldn't trust anybody. Because you were Kalanemi in your past life and you were killed by Vishnu. And now Vishnu has come back to kill you again. And all these children and everyone who takes birth in Gokul at this time, they're all demigods. They're all your enemy. So then is when Kamsa decides to arrest Vasudeva, Devaki, and even his own father, Ugrasen, throws everyone in jail. So that was the situation. So we can just imagine Rukmini, she's going to be marrying Shishupal, who hates Krishna. Right? And the entourage is all people, Jarasandha, Kamsa, they all like Krishna. So not only is she going to marry someone that she doesn't love, someone who hates the person that she loves, but she's going to be surrounded by people who constantly hate, want to kill Krishna, criticizes and so forth. So it's an atmosphere that she figures, if I can't marry Krishna, I might as well be dead, might as well die. That's her mindset. She's thinking like that. So of course, Kamsa sends all these different demons here, Putana and Agasura, and they all get killed by Krishna. So he decides at one point to send Akura here to Vrindavan to fetch Krishna. And of course, Akura is a devotee of Krishna. He's very, very favorable. Then Kamsa tells him, just be sweet. Don't be aggressive. Just sweetly bring Balaram and Krishna. Tell them that as their uncle, they're like almost 11 by that time. I've never seen them. Isn't that strange? I've never seen my own nephews. So just tell them to come to see their uncle here in Mathura. Of course, he has a different plan, but they, sweetly try to charm them and get them to come to me. And of course, there's different events. He kills the Krishna Balaram, he kills the wrestlers and so forth, and eventually kills Kamsa. And it's interesting because when I first came to Krishna consciousness, first book I got was the Krishna book. And I read this pastime, and coming from a Christian background, which God is all love, I read this and I thought, this is ridiculous. I closed the book. I said, God is killing, right? So later the devotees explained to me what was going on. And not only does he kill Kamsa, right? He punches him and kills him. He drags him by the hair, drowned in the arena, and he drags him all around. And I thought, wow, this is too much. Not only does he kill this fellow, he makes a whole show of it, right? So the devotees explained to me that, well, because they probably thought, those who were there in the arena watching this, they probably thought, oh, Krishna got a lucky punch, like we say, right? Kamsa was a little too confident. Krishna knocked him a bit, but he's going to wake up and kill Krishna. So that's why Krishna dragged them all around to convince everyone this guy is dead, right? So of course, when that happened, Asti and Prapti, who were the wives of Kamsa, they go running to Jarasandha because that's their father. And they say, you won't believe what happened. Krishna killed his own uncle here. And we're widows. That's what we are. We're widows now. So of course Jarasandha gets mad, right? Can't understand why Krishna would kill his own uncle. And he goes after Krishna. So he attacks Mathura 17 times. And of course he gets defeated. But he keeps doing that to the point where Krishna's feeling really bad. Because he thinks, I left Vrindavan. So many demons were coming there, disturbing all the atmosphere. And although I'm killing these demons, while the demons are coming, there's a whole chaotic situation being created here. And I feel bad for my devotees, that they're being disturbed. So he decides to go to Mathura. But then Mathura, there's another scene where Jarasandha keeps attacking and he's disturbing. So finally Krishna leaves and he goes to Dwarka. And there's a little bit of peace in the meantime. But Shishupal, of course, he's the cousin of Krishna. The sister of Vasudeva was the mother of Shishupal, and Damagosh was his father. So when Shishupal was born, he had 4 arms and 3 eyes, and he made noise like a donkey. Right? So they're like, we have to get rid of this kid. They want to just abandon the child. So again, a voice in the sky said, no, don't do that. This will be a very powerful Kshatriya. And one day, someone will come to your house. He'll put the child on his lap, and the 2 arms and 3rd eye will disappear. So they start thinking, who could that be? So they invite so many kings and Kshatriyas to come to their homes and put their child on the lap, but nothing happens. So they're a little bit bewildered. Who will be that person? So one day, Krishna comes to see his aunt. And he puts that child on his lap, and the 2 arms, and the 3rd eye disappears. So, of course, they're very happy. But the voice also said that that same person will be the cause of the death of your child. So they beg Krishna that please don't kill. After all, I'm your aunt, right? You have to give me a benediction, a blessing here, and not kill my child. So that's when Krishna said, okay, I will forgive 100 insults. But after that, I'll have to kill him. So Shishupal, knowing that Krishna would be the cause of his death, he also hated Krishna like anything. So when Kamsa is killed, Kamsa had made alliance with Shishupal, with Jarasandha, by marrying his 2 daughters. and he had made alliance with Shishupal, and that was in those days. This is what you did. You create alliances to fortify your own kingdom. Just like when the Muslims invaded India, they forcibly took a lot of the queens and made them their wives. Whenever they would conquer somewhere, they would take the wives of the king and make them their wives. And sometimes some kings and some would offer their daughters to that particular king or sultan or, jamindar, powerful people who own landowners and so forth, to create the peace. So women were bartered like that. They were, exchanged for a peaceful environment, and that was how it was done. So thousands of, if you read a little bit Indian, Muslims invaded India about 1,000 years, 800 to 1,000 years. So you can imagine how much of that took place. These kind of things went on. So this is what Rukmini is trying to do here. Not Rukmini, but Rukmi is trying to do. Kamsa's dead, okay, so let's form a new alliance. I'm friend with Shishupal, but if I can get my sister married to Shishupal, that will really create a strong alliance. And because Shishupal is very close to Jarasandha, that'll create a stronger alliance. So this is what's going on. Of course, Rukmini doesn't want to be part of this, and that's why Bhishmaka, the father of Rukmini, Rukmi convinced him, because he was favorable, that okay, you want to marry Krishna? No problem. But when his son came and said, hey, this is not a good arrangement. First of all, Krishna is hated by everyone. No one likes this fellow. We don't even know how he became king of Dwarka. He used to be in Vrindavan, holding on to the calves and cows and being dragged in the mud. That's what we remember. And now he's a big king in Dwarka. Maybe he killed someone else. He killed his uncle. He might have killed other people. We don't know, but he's somehow a king in Dwarka. But we can't put much trust in this guy. But Jarasandha, he's a powerful king, right? So we have to align ourselves here. And so he somehow convinced his father, Bhishmaka, to go along with that. And Rukmini is kind of in the middle of all this. He can't really say anything because this is going on, and it's going on pretty quick. And she's wondering, why is it Krishna has not shown up yet? Maybe he didn't get the letter, maybe the Brahmin didn't arrive, maybe he's not in agreement with this, maybe he won't marry me. So she's very much in distress. And Rukmini, of course, we all thought in the beginning, because Rukmini is the favorable queen in Dwarka, we all thought that Rukmini was actually Radharani, but actually she's Chandavali. When you read the Vidagdha Madhava and the Lalita Madhava of Rupa Goswami, you get that understanding. And the reason why Rukmini is Chandavali is that in Vrindavan, Chandavali's mood and Radharani's mood is quite different. Radharani's mood is, Krishna belongs to me. Chandavali's mood is that I belong to Krishna. And it's quite a difference. Just like if I'm the owner of a company, I can hire and fire people anytime I want. But if I work for the company, I may get fired. So that is the mood, right? Radharani, she's Vrindavanishvari. She's the queen of Vrindavan, and Krishna submits to her. So here, Rukmini is very much stressed. And later on, there'll be a pastime where Krishna starts mocking Rukmini and telling her, I don't know, you made a mistake, I think. Thinking about it, I think you really made a mistake. You should have married Shishupal, because he was a real Kshatriya. And he had opulence, and he was also the king of Chedi. So, I don't know why you married me. And he starts selling that to Rukmini. He wants to get her a little feisty, a little angered, Satyabhama, she's Radharani, and she is a little feisty, and she's a little demanding sometimes. When she saw the Parijata tree in Indra Loka, she told Krishna, I want that tree. You have to bring that tree back to Dwarka. So Krishna had to fight with Indra to get that tree. So she's a little bit more demanding. But Rukmini, she's totally submissive. So when she started hearing these things, instead of becoming angry and saying, Krishna, why are you saying this? She started just getting more and more depressed. More and more, she started, making, with her toes, she started making little movement in the sand, and finally she fainted. And Krishna's, what happened here? Right? That's not what he was expecting. So this is the mood of Rukmini. She's very, very submissive. And we see in the Mahabharata and some of the Bhagavatam how this type of mood of kidnapping took place. We know that Balaram, he wanted to offer Subhadra to Duryodhana. Krishna didn't want that. Duryodhana was, Balaram's best student. He learned kada, he learned how to fight with a mace. So Duryodhana was thinking it'd be a good match. I should offer my sister Subhadra to Duryodhana. But Krishna didn't want. So he told Arjuna, you come here, disguise yourself as a sannyasi. So when Balaram saw this sadhu come, he was so happy. Oh, this sadhu has come to bless our Dwarka. Very nice, very nice. And he even got Subhadra to start serving him. Little did he know that eventually Subhadra would take off with Arjuna. And that's what happened, right? And Balaram was so angered, he thought that I got cheated here. Arjuna came, disguised himself, and cheated me, so he wanted to kill Arjuna. But Krishna said, look what's happening. Where is Subhadra and where is Arjuna? So he looked in the distance, he could see Subhadra was driving the chariot. So he could understand that actually she's not being kidnapped. Maybe Arjuna's being kidnapped. She wants Krishna. She wants Arjuna, right? So that pacified Balaram, because Krishna couldn't go against Balaram. Balaram's elder, so he had to kind of submit to that. But this is the arrangement he made. We saw Samba kidnap Lakshmana, Duryodhana's daughter. He went there and he kidnapped her, and they were so enraged that 5 of them, Karna and Duryodhana, and they went after Samba and they kidnapped him, brought him back to Hastinapur and arrested him. Meanwhile, in Dwarka, they're thinking, what happened to Samba? He's been gone for a while. We haven't seen him. Anyone seen him? No, he hasn't come back. So they're wondering what's going on. And of course, Narada Muni shows up. And he so happens to have been in Hastinapur, and he's heard this news. Yeah, you're what? You're looking, you're talking about Samba. Yeah, I got some news there. I was just in Hastinapur. They arrested this fellow, right? They arrested him. So they think, what? So they get, the Ruka, and the Vrishnis, they start building up their army and getting ready. And Balaram said, no, there's no need for this. There must be some misunderstanding. After all, Duryodhana is my disciple. I'll go there and I'll just explain and I'll mediate everything. No need to. So he goes with a few, of his ministers. He goes with a few Brahmins and he goes to Hastinapur to talk to them. And they're very happy. They greet him and they're so happy. But he said, no, I've come on an official business here. I've come under the direction of Ugrasen. He's ordered me to come and I'm speaking on his behalf. So they're not that happy with that, hearing this. And he says, I want you to release Samba immediately. So they start thinking, what is this? It's like the shoe all of a sudden wants to be like the crown. They start insulting Balaram, insulting Ugrasen, Krishna, like that. So Balaram, of course, gets more and more angry, gets more and more frustrated. And then he decides, okay, I've had enough. He takes his plow, puts it in the ground and starts pulling Hastinapur into the Yamuna. Oh, they all freak out. And then immediately they bring Samba and they bring Lakshma, and then he goes back to Dwarka with them. We see also how Bhishma, there was Ambalika. It was supposed to, there was a huge marriage. Shalva was there, he was going to marry one of them. And the Pandavas, they were quite insulted because they hadn't been invited to this marriage. So Bhishma goes there on behalf of, what was his name? He goes there on the behalf and he kidnaps those 3 girls. What was their name? Chitavirya and Vichitavirya. So he kidnaps them and brings them to Hastinapur. So this is many of the different activities and pastimes that were going on in those days, where the kshatriyas were very powerful and they would fight and, kidnap. Of course, here it says that Rukmini wants to be kidnapped by Krishna, but actually she's not really forcefully being taken by Krishna. I mean, she's being kidnapped in the sense that she wants to be pulled away from Shishupal and even our own brother, Rukmini, but it's voluntarily she wants Krishna as her husband. And Krishna will ultimately come and he will take her and bring her back to Dwarka. So, how are we supposed to perceive all this? Of course, these are wonderful pastimes. We get enchanted by these wonderful pastimes. We get to know a little bit the character of all these individuals. We get to know how Krishna is so merciful that if one surrenders to Krishna, Krishna is very, very much feels obligated. But this is the mood that we should have. Shishupal, in one sense, can represent the material energy. Material energy is an energy that is, although Shishupal is a cousin to Krishna, he's not favorable. So this material world, in one sense, is a creation of Krishna. In one sense, it's not different than Krishna. And for Krishna, there's no material or spiritual world. It's all his energy. Prabhupada gave the example, just like electricity. With electricity, you can convert the electricity, manipulate it in such a way that you create ice. But you can also manipulate electricity and create vapor, which are opposite, but coming from the same energy. So material world and spiritual world, for Krishna, is the same. There's no material or spiritual, for Krishna, there's no material world. But for us, the material energy has an imposing influence that intoxicates us. We start thinking that we're the doer, we're the enjoyer. Prabhupada gave another example, just like wine. What is wine? It's just fermented fruit. It's just grapes that's fermented. But because it has a bad effect, the alcohol has a bad effect on us, it's bad. So this material energy has a bad effect on us. It allures us to think that we are the controller, and because we're the controller, we're the enjoyer, because that's what's Krishna's position. Krishna is the controller, supreme controller, and the supreme enjoyer. And us, tiny entity, in trying to imitate Krishna, we think if I become a controller, I'll also be an enjoyer. And we see that this is the ahankara vimudatma kartahang iti manyate, that everyone in the material world, under that illusion, tries to be the enjoyer and the controller. But because we are Anu, we're a very small particle, we're not Bhagavan, we're Anu, small particles of Krishna, we get bombarded by this material energy. Although we are superior energy, marginal means we can be in the material world or the spiritual world, we're very tiny, Anu. We're the smallest complete particle of Krishna. So because we're very small and this material energy is very big, very vast, we get bewildered. We get, we get bombarded. We try to be the controller, but actually we eventually become controlled. It's just like if you have one ant attacking you is one thing, but if you have 1,000 ants attacking you, although you're more powerful than the ant, there's thousands of them. How are you going to defend yourself? So the material world, although inferior, it's much more vast and it influences us, it intoxicates us, and therefore it's not something that we want. We want Krishna. We want the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Prabhupada said, first deserve, then desire. So here, Rukmini is showing that she is deserving. She's done many things. She's performed tapasya, she's worshipped demigods, she's worshipped the Supreme Personality of God, and so forth. And now she has a plan how it's going to be executed. So we have Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya, Prayojana. We have also our plan, Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. So we have to follow rules and regulations that we can remove the anarthas, what's inhibiting our ability to love Krishna. And by associating with Krishna, just like you associate with someone, so the first thing is on reverence. When you meet someone, right? You can't just slap that person on the back, hey, how you doing? You can't be doing that. You have to be, oh, how are you? Where are you from? Oh, you work here? I also work. I work across the street. You kind of get to know the person. So that's sambandha gyan. Who is Krishna? Who are we? What is our relationship? Why we wear tilak, and all these little details and so forth. We have to know that kind of reverential mood. And then there's some friendship that gets established. That friendship is established by how? By chanting the names of Krishna. We chant Hare Krishna so we can associate with Krishna. That association will develop some attachment for Krishna. And that association means that we have to develop what value for what we're doing. We have many techniques. We have the Jaipur retreats. We have all these different things that we do. And for sure, if you go to bed early and if you don't eat too much at night, and you get up early, these are all techniques that will help us chant. But ultimately, we have to question ourselves and say, what is the value of chanting? How much do I value that? Just like if I give you $1,000, you're going to put it in your pocket. You're not going to say, thanks a lot, and leave it there, because you know the value. If I give $1,000 to a child, he'll leave it there. He'll exchange it for anything, because he doesn't know the value. So sometimes, because we don't know the value of our chanting, we exchange it for sleeping. I'd rather, Hare Krishna, because I'm enjoying this more than the chanting. So it's a trade-off, right? Because we're looking for rasa, we're looking for pleasure. So in my mind, I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to derive more pleasure if I just sleep now, because I'm tired, and this is giving me some satisfaction, than if I chant Hare Krishna. Or allow myself to get distracted. Look at this, look at that, talk about this, talk about that, rather than chant, because it's more entertaining for me. It's a little austere, Hare Krishna, man, I've been doing this for years, right? The mind is looking for novelty, something new, right? We've all experienced, when we hear a kirtan, and it's a new melody, wow, right? We're all excited. But is it the mantra or the melody? It's the melody, because the mind's hearing something new. But hear that melody 20, 30, 40 times, okay, we lose interest. Because it's no longer novelty for the mind, right? So the kirtan is nice, but it's supposed to be something that accompanies the mantra. Not that the mantra accompanies the music, right? It's like a diamond ring. The ring is nice, but the important thing is the diamond of the ring, not the ring itself. If you remove the diamond, ring is not that important. So our chanting is that, and through that association, just like we associate with anything, people associate with cigarettes, they become addicted. They associate with alcohol, they become addicted. Anything we associate with will become addicted. So if that's there for these ordinary things, it's going to have to be there for chanting the holy name. So if we just chant, eventually we'll develop an attachment for that. And from that attachment, eventually comes love. You start loving the things you're attached to, because it starts meaning something. It starts having value to your existence. So if we can become like Rumini and see that there's nothing in this world as important as Krishna, then we'll also be a pure devotee. Like where Mahatma was talking about, getting mercy. Well, what does that mercy mean? What is mercy? Often we may think, well, mercy means I won't have a headache anymore, I won't have the hassles of dealing with material energy, so forth, so on. But the real mercy is, I'll love Krishna. And why do I want to love Krishna? Well, because he's Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, why do you chant Hare Krishna? To chant Hare Krishna. We're not chanting Hare Krishna to get something else. It's not some punya or some atonement or something else. We're just trying to get that. And we already have it. We want Krishna, we have Krishna. But do we really want Krishna? In a sense, how much do I want Krishna? Because to have Krishna means I'm going to have to give up all of this. And there's a lot of things that I like. There's certain things I don't like. But there's a lot of things that I do like about this world, So, am I ready to give it all up? Not really. Because I haven't attained that maturity, that level of appreciation, of valuing Krishna consciousness. I don't know what Krishna represents, how deep that relationship is with Krishna. Therefore, these are anarthas, they're static. Like when you're on the radio, if you're distorted, you got to get on the station pure, then you get pure chanting. So that pure chanting is Sudanam. Then we're actually chanting Hare Krishna. We may be chanting, but we may be chanting Nama-parad or Nama-bas, which is good. Bhaktivinoda describes that chanting even Nama-parad, which means we're chanting and still coming in offense, it's still a cleansing process. It will bring us to that desire to give up sinful activities. It will give us some ruchi, some taste that we will on our own want to give up certain things. Like when I first started coming to Krishna consciousness, of course we're all hippies, so I was smoking up. But I would come and see the devotees, and I thought, okay, if I smoke up, it'll enhance it. I'll get a higher buzz. But I realized, no, it was a downer. You know, it didn't mix. Rasa basa, as we say. So I gave it up, because it wasn't giving me what I thought it was going to give me. It was just taking it away. So as devotees, as we progress, gradually we naturally, of course in the beginning, there's a little bit imposition, and we follow the four regular principles and certain things we have to do. Some disciplines are there. But then as we progress, it becomes volunteer, because we realize these are interfering with my ability to love Krishna, with my ability to think of Krishna. So why am I doing that? Am I schizophrenic? Am I a split personality? One side I want Krishna, another side I want Maya. Where am I? Where am I at in my consciousness? What do I really want? And why did I come to Krishna consciousness? I had all these things, but I wanted to give them up for something better. Now I have that thing better, so why am I procrastinating? Why am I not diving deeper and deeper? What's wrong with me? Right? Something wrong with me. So then I have to associate with those who have that taste, sadhu sangha. I have to associate with people who are eager, who have lolyam for Krishna. Yeah. And I can meditate on these devotees, their determination, and appreciate devotees who've been highs and lows. I mean, you know, people get sick. It's not like we're going to be healthy all the time. So sometimes devotees get sick. They have little problems, little bump in their devotional service. But we have to admire the determination that despite our struggles, we're still maintaining, we're still continuing. Krishna consciousness has still become the main objective of our lives, despite little side distraction, right? So you admire devotees who have continued despite all their struggles, their highs and their lows, because it proves that deep down they're really hankering for Krishna. And that's something very admirable, something very to be greatly appreciated. So Rukmini is also, as Lord Chaitanya said, Gopi Bhartum Padakamalor Dasa Das Anudas. Krishna says, if you claim to be my devotee, you're not my devotee. But if you claim to be the devotee, my devotee. So here Rukmini has approached demigod, she's approached the sage, she's trying to get mercy from anyone. It's just like if you need $100, right, and you approach someone and say, no, I only have $10. Are you going to say no to that? It's bringing you closer to your goal. It's better than nothing, right? So devotee, he's actually a beggar. He's begging for everyone. Of course, Prabhupada could give us 100%, 200%. He was there. But there's so many others who can give us other things. So we don't just rely on Srila Prabhupada, we rely on all of us. That's why Prabhupada formed ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So we can rely on each other. And we may just have $1, $10, $20, but it's better than nothing. So we have to appreciate everyone, that everyone has come to workers. So they're saying, well, why are you doing that? You should be with the big guys. He said, yeah, but the big guys, they get a little sometimes, familiar, and they slack up a bit because they've won a few. They're happy. But these young guys, they haven't won anything. So they're very enthusiastic. They really want it. Right? Because they haven't won anything yet. So I prefer that enthusiasm. I prefer that energy of these young boxers who are just starting, they really got a drive. They want to get something. They want to get somewhere. Right? Where the other ones get a little complacent sometimes. So we can derive inspiration from anyone, from the first devotee who just walked in, and we've all experienced that. You preach, the person just comes into the temple, and you see how he starts getting it, right? He starts appreciating the philosophy, and it fires you up. And sometimes you even start saying things that you don't even knew, right? It's like Krishna inspires you to give examples or say things, and you think, well, I didn't. This is the first time I say that, or that's the first example. I've never given that kind of example to someone. You get kind of inspired to preach. So this is our Krishna consciousness movement. From all levels, from all angles, we are meant to appreciate. We're meant to value what we have. We are meant to cherish, to protect what we have. And if we do that, if we show Krishna, just like Rukmini is showing Krishna from all angles of vision, from all that she really desperately wants Krishna, if we can show that, if we have to prove to Krishna that we want him, we don't want anything else. And Krishna will reciprocate. We'll feel Krishna consciousness. But if we don't make the effort, then if we don't show enthusiasm, then it'll be our loss. And we're meant to be servants. I often give this example that if you've ever cooked for yourself, okay, But when you have friends over, that's when you get excited. You cook things you don't cook for yourself, you buy vegetables, you're very excited. Your friends are coming over. And it's not at the end, you got the bill, okay, you owe me $50, you owe me, how many pakoras you ate, how many chapati. Now you're desperate because everyone said no for different reasons. Now you're talking to me. I should have been the first to call if I'm your best friend. But what is this person asking? He's asking you to come and help them, right? And he could call it, that person could call at 2 in the morning. You don't care. It's like, yeah, I'm ready. I'll be there in half an hour. Be there in 15 minutes to render service. And we're very happy to do that. But we only do that to people we love. When you walk on the street, you see hundreds of people, they don't mean anything to you. But all of a sudden you see a face, oh, hey, someone that you work with, or someone's an uncle, or that face you recognize. There's some love, attachment, then you stop and you want to talk to that person. Because there's some love, there's some attachment. So we're meant to develop that love for Krishna by knowing about Krishna. And therefore the acharyas, Prabhupada spent so much time revealing Krishna to us, so that Krishna is not just a face that we see amongst thousands, but he is that face that we stop and pay attention to, because that's the person we love. The whole process of Krishna consciousness to develop that love. And therefore we have to wonder, how is it, if Krishna is so lovable, what's wrong with me that I don't love him? What's my problem? I should be able to love Krishna. Just the name Krishna is so attractive, so wonderful. It brings a smile on their face. So why am I falling asleep when I'm chanting His names? Why am I allowing myself to be, why am I cheating myself of that wonderful possibility of having darshan with Krishna at any moment? So we choose. I can choose to be with Krishna at every moment. I can look at things that reminds me of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada was expert at that. We all know that when Prabhupada used to take his morning walk, he would point at things, and everything he would point at, he would pull out the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. He was seeing Krishna everywhere. And he would demonstrate that by his speaking. He would speak about Krishna on all sorts of topics. And he would meet all sorts of people. Right? Someone came and said, oh, we're a social worker. Prabhupada said, yeah, we're also social worker. We're also this, we're also that. Anything, he would bring it to Krishna. Of course, we can't artificially imitate that, but we have to hanker. We have to be like Rukmini, hankering for Krishna and praying to Krishna to please allow us to develop that loving feeling for Him, and our lives will be sublime. And Srila Prabhupada created this beautiful temple, Krishna Balaram, just for us. So we could come from all over the world and, drown ourselves in Krishna consciousness in this beautiful temple. And we have wonderful managers like Panchagoda and others. Dharmatma, who's doing some wonderful job making a beautiful atmosphere for us to come and just not to worry about anything, to forget about everything, the wars, the this, the that, whatever, and just the politics of the world, the economy of the world, all these different things that may stress us out, and just think about Krishna. So thank you very much. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Yes.
Thank you. Very nice class. So many good examples and clear analogies so we can visualize. That verse, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, knowing Krishna. And it seems that over the years, as you hear about his pastimes in Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwaraka, you get different understandings and realizations. How much of Krishna do we have to really know when it says Janma Karma Chame Divyam? It seems like you have more of an in-depth understanding and or appreciation of the Leela. We need to maybe enhance our appreciation of the Leela and try to understand it that way, or just philosophically, scientifically.
Well, you at least have to know enough to be convinced about Krishna and to make sure that nothing takes away that conviction. So at least that much knowledge we have to know. So there's a philosophical point, but even philosophically or logically, Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta, especially Bhaktisiddhanta, started this because using logic. Because when the Muslims invaded, their base of society was the Quran, and the Indian or Hindus, that was the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas. So they had similar base for their society. When the British came, they came with logic, which threw off many. Bhaktisiddhanta took logic to defeat them. And Prabhupada used a lot of logic. Of course, logic is jnana. So you can eventually lose your Krishna consciousness by too much jnana, too much logic. So yeah, at first, we understand, okay, we're not the body, okay, that's, the body changes, different, that's kind of a logic we can understand. But then how is Krishna blue and so many other things, you can lose that. So, but your point is that there has to be enough knowledge to convince us, and then there has to be enough pastimes to make us enjoy it. So both have to be there. So as we mature in Krishna consciousness, we're no longer so much, of course the philosophy is there because we're all preachers, but we're trying to relish Krishna consciousness, and that relishing is through the different pastimes that Krishna enacted. And the philosophy, we could say, like Bhagavad Gita may take, under role, not the prominent role, but the back role. But for preaching, of course, it's still always there. Just like the gopis, they know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ultimately, but it's just a background. They're not interested in that. They want Krishna, they want to forget that, because it interferes with their rasa with Krishna. So, as we progress, we don't really want to love Krishna because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't particularly care if he's God or not. Most people want to worship God for what God can give you, right? It's like now everyone's looking, at one point in America, everyone's looking at Obama. Wow, wow, wow. Now everyone's looking at Biden and maybe Trump, because they're the President of the United States, the most powerful person. But when they no longer have that role, they're no longer president, no one cares about them. So we don't want Krishna because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and when we get a blessing, okay, we don't care about him. We want Krishna because he's for who he is. He's a wonderful personality. He does these wonderful pastimes. And that's the person we want to love. And if he's God or not God, that's not that important. He may be God, he may not be God, right? Just like Prabhupada, he may be a gopi or gopa, who cares? He's Prabhupada, that's the person we love. There's all these debates, oh, Prabhupada was a gopa, Prabhupada was a gopi. Who cares? He's Prabhupada. He's the one who saved you, right? I just want to go where Prabhupada is. If it's a gopa, gopi, this, that, that's not particularly what I care. And I just want to be with Prabhupada. Yes, Kula-deva-yātrā.
We drew a beautiful spectrum of different ways we can appreciate Krishna, and what we have to do, make the right choice, put our all in all in developing our relationship with Krishna. So that goal is there, to love Krishna, but it seems that there is a big price to pay. And Krishna is perfect, and as we appreciate that more and more, of course, we should do our hearts to him, but Krishna wants us to do it all together. There's a sangha to help us in our journey towards Krishna. But the sangha has a lot of challenges. I mean, we're very imperfect in this world, and we carry a lot of bad sides, bad qualities, and to have to deal with that. We have enough problems on our own that in our dealings with each other, we encounter others' egos and power trips or nasty side or this and that. There's a duality there, even in the Vaishnava Sangha. So how do we deal with all of that? It's like you need a lot of, of course, you touched upon that. To appreciate everyone, not just get hung up on this or that. That's not, because it's not so important, I guess, eh?
Well, it's just like Ravana kidnapped the false Sita. He didn't get the real Sita. So sometimes we may be connected with the false ISKCON. We may get distracted by all the false things. Because ISKCON is meant to develop love of Krishna. But there, we get caught up in politics and so forth. But that's like the fake Sita. It's not the real Sita. It's not what the movement is about. So we can be distracted by all these things, or we can decide these things are not that important. Because these things are not going to be going on in the spiritual world anyway. They're just here in the material world. So they're part of the material entourage, right? Just like we come to Vrindavan, but we don't really see Vrindavan. We see. We don't have a transcendental vision. So we may not have such a vision all the time about ISKCON and politics and problems and this and that. But we have to at least have the intelligence to know that why am I going there? Right. If I'm a manager, okay, I may have some of these things because I have to manage. But if I'm not a manager, why don't I bothering myself with all these details and so forth and so on, letting myself get distracted rather than focused on the real thing, the whole process, Guru Sadhu Shastra. So if it's not Guru Sadhu Shastra, why am I dealing with it? Why am I getting myself distracted by all these things? It's not the process recommended by our acharyas. Our acharyas have recommended Guru Sadhu Shastra. So I should stay, in that. And if I have a level of influence, if I can have some influence, yeah, okay, I can maybe know a few things. but not to the point where it becomes such a fixation that I don't even chant my rounds because I'm on the internet reading all this stuff and worrying about all this stuff, and meanwhile I'm 3 days behind my rounds. I know devotees who are so busy with so many things that they can't even find time to chant their rounds, which is unfortunate, But that may be where the person is at also. It depends on your shraddha, your faith in the process, and what, we might have 4 kinds of people come to Krishna. It's described, Chatrovida bhajanti mam. So we may have to be in that, we may be in some of those categories. Some just come out of curiosity, right? Some come because they're lacking wealth. Some are, but the best is the one who's wise, right? Because he'll stick it out. So we have to become wise for Krishna. Any other, Maharaj? Yeah, that'll be the last question.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. As Panchagura Prabhu is saying so many examples and analogies to clear the points. Rukmini is expansion of Chandravali from Vrindavan, and Satyabhama is Srimati Radharani. In Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani is the dearmost devotee of the Lord. But I've heard that the most dear devotee in Dwarka is Rukmini Devi. So I'd like to comment on this.
Well, because Rukmini in Dwarka has the Aishvarya Bhav. In Dwarka there's an element of Aishvarya Bhav that is not in Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan, Radharani has none of that. Like I was mentioning, Krishna belongs to her. So there's no Aishvarya. But Chandravali, there's an element of still reverence because I belong to Krishna. So in Dwarka, as Rukmini, she fits perfectly in that mood because Aishvarya is more prominent in Dwarka. So she becomes the prominent queen because she has the proper attitude. While Satyabhama still has less Aishvarya Bhav than Rukmini. So she has a little difficulty with that. Sometimes she wants to control Krishna. Like I was saying, she wanted Krishna to steal the Parijata tree from Indra. So she has a little bit of a dominating position. Therefore, she doesn't fit entirely perfectly in Dwarka like Rukmini does. Therefore, she's the prominent queen in Dwarka and not Satyabhama. Stop here? Or is there one more question? Yeah, okay. Please bring the mic to... yeah. Equal rights. Okay, there's 2 questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the very nice class. Prabhuji, you said like Radharani's mood is that Krishna belongs to me. So, can you, what is her service mood, or can you explain
Well, one thing is when Krishna gets distracted and he goes to Chandravali, Radharani becomes very mad. She does mona. She doesn't want to talk to Krishna. And her mood is not that, she feels that why is Krishna wasting his time going there? Obviously she cannot satisfy Krishna. So it's not a selfish thing. It's just like you have a child and you see the potential of the child, but the child doesn't want to go to school, doesn't want to learn. So you're concerned about the child, that why don't you want to do these? This will be good for you. So Radharani's mood is like that. This will be good for you, Krishna. Don't waste your time there. Come here. I'm the only one who can satisfy you. Right? So there are all sorts of pastimes like that take place where she's actually chastising Krishna. And Krishna's afraid. In Vrindavan, Krishna's afraid of the gopis. When Krishna killed Aristasura, right? He came to the gopis and they said, no, don't come to us. You've committed a big sin. You killed a bull. He said, come on, it's a demon, look. Because after the demons are killed, their real forms come out. Just like Putana, our body came out. She was a beautiful person. But so look, I said, no. When you killed, now he's a demon, but when you killed him, he was a bull. So you have to atone for that. Otherwise, you can't be with us. So Krishna was afraid. So what do I do? Well, you have to bathe all the holy rivers. He said, I can't leave Vrindavan. So then he created Syamakund. So Krishna is afraid. When he killed Vatsasura, who was a calf, after killing that, the coward boys told Krishna, you committed a big sin. You can't be with us anymore. We can't play with you anymore. Krishna said, no, it was a demon. No, it was a calf. So they said, so what should I do? Well, you have to atone for your sin. So well, how am I going to? You have to shave your head. See? So Krishna did that. His beautiful, long, black hair. He went to the barber and the barber shaved his. So here in Vrindavan, Krishna is afraid. But in Dwarka, the devotees are afraid of losing Krishna. Here, Krishna is afraid of losing his devotees. In Dwarka, that's why Rukmini, when Krishna started teasing her, she fainted. She was afraid that Krishna might leave her. So it's a different mood. Here the mood is prominent. Krishna is there for their pleasure. And he plays that role. They don't want to know that he's God. Nanda Maharaj and all that, they can chastise Krishna. Mother Yashoda can bind Krishna, become Damodar. They play a prominent role. But in Dwarka, they play submissive roles.
So by Radharani is like Krishna's mind, so means she can chastise him and in loving
And Krishna
way.
enjoys that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Was another question, or we should stop? Okay, this is definitely the last question.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
But it's nice. Thank you for your question. We enjoy questions.
Prabhu, just in terms of when you mentioned about Rukmini's hankering and how we all should be and we all desire for that hankering or the development of lollyum, but we also find that sometimes you mentioned about philosophy and then the pastimes. Despite spending our effort in sadhana or the philosophy and the relishing the pastimes, it sometimes, at least in our limited way, I can say for myself, that it remains just there. We enjoy and then we move on, and our life still doesn't seem to have that hankering really growing in a way that would make us come alive towards Krishna. So if you would like to, if you could shed a few thoughts on that.
Well, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes enthusiasm different than passion. Passion is I want, I don't get it, okay, I move on. But enthusiasm means that it doesn't matter. It may take 100 lifetimes. The time is not a factor in my devotion. It's not a race. But it doesn't mean that I'm a lazy person. Oh, okay, I'll do it next life. I'm very enthusiastic, I want it. But it also depends on Krishna. I can't impose myself on Krishna and demand, okay, Krishna. I'm the one who ruptured my relationship with Krishna. So now I have to be very humble. And when Krishna decides, I'll do my duty and I'll do what I have to do, but then Krishna will have to decide if I'm worthy of his mercy or not. And like Lord Chaitanya said, you can handle me roughly or embrace me. It doesn't change my attitude. I'll continue doing my business. But you, Krishna, you decide. So that is our attitude. We may get mercy, we may feel sometimes ecstatic, and sometimes we may not feel ecstatic, sometimes we might even feel depressed. But we have to go on. That's sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti means a line in the rock. It doesn't change. No matter what happens, I have to do this. So this is the drita vrataha, the determination we have to have, and that will attract Krishna. But if I'm thinking, okay, now I'm feeling happy, today I'm not feeling happy, this, that, then it's chanchala, mental case. We won't be determined to serve Krishna with that attitude. We have to have an attitude that doesn't matter. I'm well situated here. This is where I need to be. And whatever happens, it doesn't matter. At least I'm in a well position. position. And certainly Krishna will be merciful, no doubt. But if he's not, what else are you going to do? Right? If Krishna is merciful or not, what else? I mean, we're not going to eat prasadam? We're not going to associate with devotees? We're not going to chant Hare Krishna? I mean, that's our life. We have nothing else anymore, right? So in that sense, it's all relative, because if we have success or no success, nothing's going to change. We're going to hang out with the same people, eat prasadam, worship, go see Krishna, right? I mean, how can we not go and see Krishna? He's so attractive. So that's just the way we live now. We have there is no other existence, other way of thinking or looking at things. These are our friends. You know, so that's how you have to look at it.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna